Little Italy, Lower Manhattan. New York City, February 1971, Wednesday afternoon just past 3 p.m. Mulberry Street is unnaturally still. When Mulberry Street falls silent in the middle of the day, it doesn't mean peace. It means the five families are in session. Serious business. The kind that decides who rises and who disappears. At Rouse, the famed Italian restaurant, a private event sign hangs on the front door. Inside, Vincent the Chin Gigant presides, 42 years old. Already feared. The true power behind the Genovese family. He occupies the prime table in the back, hands calmly folded over crisp white linen, dark eyes observing everything, missing nothing. Seated around him are six capos, each controlling a different empire of money and influence. Salvatore Sally Maranzano oversees gambling in Chinatown. Angelo the Bull Ferrara manages union leverage. Carmine Red Santoro runs the numbers rackets. Dominic the Blade Russo handles legitimate fronts. Marco the Priest Benedetti settles internal disputes. Joey Shoes Luciano offers counsel when decisions carry consequences. Together, these seven men control millions of dollars and can make people vanish without a trace. Today's problem, Bruce Lee. Inside Rouse, the air felt heavier than usual. February 1971, Wednesday afternoon, just past 3:15 p.m. The private event sign on Mulberry Street kept civilians out, but inside the back dining room, the real government of Little Italy was in session. Plates of untouched pasta cooled on white linen. Wine glasses remained full. No one ate during decisions like this. Vincent the Chin Gigante sat motionless at the head of the table, fingers interlocked, elbows resting lightly on the cloth. 42 years old, already operating like a man twice his age. He did not need to raise his voice to command attention. Silence did that for him. Salvatore Sally Maranzano shifted in his chair again. Chinatown was his responsibility, and the tension in his jaw made that clear. He's disrupting structure, Sally repeated carefully. The tongs used to come to us first, now they go to him. They ask him what to do. Angelo the Bull Ferrara leaned back, thick arms crossed. My union guys are hearing it too. Chinese workers pushing back, saying they don't need protection. Vincent's eyes moved slowly from face to face. He didn't interrupt. He let men reveal themselves. Carmine Red Santoro cleared his throat. It's not just a school, it's influence. Confidence spreads, and confidence makes people stupid. Dominic the Blade Russo flipped open his notebook again as if reading from evidence. Gakundu! That's what he calls it, his own system. But it's the message that's the issue. Independence. Self-respect. No fear. Marco the Priest Benedetti folded his hands. Fear is structure. Without it, agreements collapse. Joey Shoes Luciano finally spoke, voice calm. And if Chinatown stops paying tribute, others start wondering why they are paying. That was the real concern. Not Bruce Lee's fists, not his size. Precedent.
Vincent inhaled slowly. He was approached.
Sally nodded. Tony Baggs and Little Nicky went 2 weeks ago. Respectful, offered partnership. Monthly arrangement. And? He refused. Said he doesn't pay for protection because he doesn't need protection. Angelo muttered something under his breath. Sally continued. He told them if we had a problem we could try closing him down ourselves. A faint tightening appeared in Vincent's jaw. It wasn't anger. It was calculation. Angelo slapped the table. Burn the place tonight. Send a message. Marco shook his head. He's known. Was on television. Teaches celebrities. You burn his school, the media shows up. Police pressure increases. Federal eyes. Joey nodded. Emotion costs money. Wars cost territory. Vincent leaned back slightly. The chair creaked in the silence. If we ignore it, he said evenly, we look weak. No one disagreed. The Chinese see one man say no and nothing happens. That becomes a story. Stories become movements. The room understood that better than anyone. Carmine spoke carefully. So what's the move? Vincent's expression hardened just enough to signal a decision had formed. I want him gone. The words settled like smoke. Not arrested. Not warned. Gone permanently. Sally opened his mouth, then closed it. Make it look random, Vincent continued. A robbery. Street crime. Tragic accident. But the message travels. Marco looked down at the tablecloth. Killing a celebrity invited noise, but disobedience invited collapse. Vincent turned his eyes toward Carmine. This is yours. Carmine straightened. 3 guys? Maximum. Timeline?
This week.
Silence again. Carmine nodded once. By Friday, Bruce Lee is history. Vincent gave a slight nod in return. The matter was closed. Around the table, glasses were finally lifted. Not in celebration. In acknowledgement. On Mulberry Street, traffic resumed slowly as the meeting concluded. Civilians walked past Rouse unaware that a life had just been scheduled for deletion. Inside, Vincent remained seated after the others stood. His dark eyes drifted toward the window. Authority depended on consistency, and consistency required consequences. 12 blocks north in Harlem, the atmosphere felt different. Not quieter, not softer, just different. Thursday afternoon, February 1971. A narrow office above 125th Street. The radiator hissed. The city moved outside the windows in steady rhythm. Inside, Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson sat behind a heavy wooden desk, reviewing numbers from the week's operations. 64 years old, a survivor in a profession where most men didn't reach 40. His dark suit was pressed. His fedora rested on the corner of the desk. The signature cane leaned within arm's reach. Harlem answered to him. Not through noise, through reputation. Bumpy flipped a page in the ledger without looking up. Queens is short, he said calmly. A man near the door nodded. We'll fix it. Before the conversation could continue, the office door opened abruptly. Freddie stepped in, breathing faster than usual. Boss. Bumpy didn't look irritated. But he did look up. That tone means something, he said evenly. Freddie closed the door behind him. The Italians are planning a hit. Silence settled into the room. On who? Bumpy asked. Bruce Lee, Chinese martial arts instructor. Opened a school on Canal Street. Refused tribute. Gigante wants him gone. The room went still. Bumpy leaned back slowly in his chair. Bruce Lee, he repeated. 3 months earlier, Marcus had been heading toward a future that didn't include options. 16 years old. Angry. Cornered by older boys who saw vulnerability as opportunity. Gangs had started circling him, testing him. Bumpy had influence, but influence didn't fix insecurity. Marcus needed something else. That's when someone mentioned the Chinese instructor downtown. The small man who taught more than kicks and punches. Who spoke about discipline like it was oxygen. Marcus went reluctantly at first. He came back different. Not louder. Not reckless. Just steadier. Within weeks, the same boys who had cornered him found someone who didn't flinch. Didn't escalate. Didn't fold. Marcus held eye contact. Spoke calmly. Stood upright. They backed off. 2 months later, Marcus was attending community college classes in the evening and working part-time legitimately. Bumpy had offered payment. Bruce Lee had declined. Your nephew is a good kid, Bruce had said. Helping good kids is what I do. No payment necessary. In Harlem, nothing was free. Except that had been. Bumpy rested both hands on the desk now. Who's running the hit? He asked. Carmine read Santoro. Coup shooters with him. Probably tonight or tomorrow, and they think no one will object. Freddie hesitated. Boss, he's not one of ours. Bumpy stood slowly. The office straightened with him. That man helped my blood, Bumpy said quietly. Didn't ask for money. Didn't ask for favors. Operated on principle. He reached for his cane. Men like that are rare. Freddie watched him carefully. You want to send a message? I want to send clarity. Bumpy walked toward the window and looked down at the Harlem street below. Vendors setting up stands. Kids running between stoops. Women carrying groceries. Ordinary life. If the Italians think they can remove whoever they want in Chinatown without resistance, Bumpy continued, what stops them from thinking Harlem is next? This wasn't charity. It was balance. Territory only stayed respected when lines were visible. He put on his fedora. Get the car ready. Freddie nodded. You're going personally? Yes. Boss, that could escalate. Bumpy adjusted his cuffs. Escalation depends on how the other side reacts. He paused at the door. Bruce Lee is under my protection, he said firmly. Anyone who touches him touches me. The room absorbed the words. Protection from Bumpy Johnson wasn't symbolic. It was structural. Freddie moved quickly to prepare the Cadillac. Outside, Harlem continued its rhythm, unaware that a line had just been drawn 12 blocks south. By Thursday evening, as the sun lowered over Manhattan, a black Cadillac began moving toward Canal Street. Inside, Bumpy Johnson sat composed in the back seat, cane across his lap, eyes forward, not heading toward violence, heading toward prevention. Thursday evening. February 1971, Canal Street, by 8:30 p.m. The storefront lights were still on. Inside the school, 15 students moved in a disciplined rhythm across the wooden floor. Bruce Lee stood at the front, small in frame, precise in motion. Every strike is efficient. Every correction is calm. Half a block away, a dark sedan idled. Carmine Red Santoro sat in the driver's seat, eyes fixed on the entrance. In the back, Paulie Chi checked his revolver again. Frankie Duca rolled his shoulders, loosening tension. "Guy looks smaller than I expected," Paulie muttered, watching through the windshield. "Size doesn't matter," Carmine replied flatly. "Bullets do." The plan was simple. Wait until 9 p.m. Follow him to his car. Stage a robbery. 2 shots. Gone. Clean. Fast. Forgettable. At 8:50 p.m. Class ended. Students bowed in unison. Bruce returned the gesture. One by one, they filtered out onto Canal Street, unaware of the men watching from the shadows. Frankie adjusted his jacket. 5 minutes. Carmine checked the street again. Then headlights turned the corner. A long black Cadillac rolled slowly to the curb directly in front of the school. Carmine's stomach tightened. "Don't tell me," Paulie whispered. The Cadillac door opened. Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson stepped out in a dark suit and fedora, cane in hand. 4 men followed behind him, coats slightly parted to reveal what rested beneath. Every serious criminal in New York recognized that silhouette. "What the hell is Bumpy Johnson doing here?" Frankie muttered. Inside the school, Bruce noticed the movement through the window. He remained still as Bumpy entered. "Mr. Johnson," Bruce said calmly, "this is unexpected." Bumpy removed his hat. "You helped my nephew Marcus 3 months ago." Kid was heading in the wrong direction. Bruce nodded slightly. He corrected himself. "I only showed him options. You refused payment. I don't charge for doing what's right." Bumpy studied him for a moment. "There's a car down the street," he said evenly. 3 Italian shooters? Contract from Vincent Gigant. You refused tribute. Now they want you erased." Bruce's expression didn't change. He absorbed the information like he absorbed everything quickly. "I can handle myself," Bruce replied. Bumpy gave a small smile. "I know you can fight. But this isn't a match. 3 guns beat any kung fu." Silence stretched between them. "You're under my protection," Bumpy continued. "Anyone who wants you goes through Harlem first." Bruce considered the weight of that. "I don't seek protection." "This isn't about seeking," Bumpy said. "It's about balance." After a pause, Bruce inclined his head. "Then I accept your help with respect." Bumpy nodded once and turned toward the door. Outside, Carmine saw them coming. "Don't move," he warned Paulie and Frankie. Bumpy approached the sedan slowly, cane tapping against the pavement. Tap, tap, tap. He stopped beside the driver's window and knocked gently with the tip of the cane. Carmine rolled it down. "Mr. Johnson," Carmine said carefully. "Evening." "You know I am here," Bumpy replied. Carmine didn't answer. "Bruce Lee is off limits," Bumpy continued evenly. "He's under Harlung's protection." Frankie's hand drifted toward his weapon. Instantly, Bumpy's 4 men shifted position. Coats opened, barrels visible. "Don't be stupid," Bumpy said calmly. "You're outnumbered and outgunned." The street felt narrower. "You touch him," Bumpy added, voice steady. "You start a war, not with Chinatown. With me." Carmine swallowed. "Vincent sent us. And I'm speaking to Vincent tomorrow." The implication hung heavy. "You leave. Now." For a moment, pride battled survival. Survival won. Carmine started the engine. "Vincent's going to hear about this." "I am counting on it," Bumpy replied. "Tell him he'll be at Rouse tomorrow at noon. He can buy me lunch." The sedan pulled away into the night. Bumpy turned back toward the school. Bruce stood in the doorway watching. No words passed between them. Just understanding. A war had nearly started on Canal Street. Instead, it would move to a table on Mulberry Street the next day at noon. Friday, noon, Mulberry Street. Rouse was quiet at that hour. White tablecloths. Low conversation. The kind of restaurant where business happened without witnesses remembering faces. Vincent the Chin Gigant arrived first. Dark overcoat. Measured steps. 2 men seated near the entrance. Another at the bar. He ordered espresso and waited. At exactly 12:03 p.m., the door opened. Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson walked in with his cane, unhurried. 2 Harlem men remained outside. One took a seat near the window, subtle, controlled. Vincent stood. Bumpy. Vincent. They shook hands briefly and sat. No smiles. No wasted words. You interfered with my business last night, Vincent began. You interfered with mine first, Bumpy replied calmly. Vincent stirred his espresso. Your business isn't Canal Street. It is when my name is involved. A pause. Vincent leaned back. The man refused tribute. Every other operator in that district pays something. It's structure. It keeps things predictable. He's not an operator, Bumpy said evenly. He's a teacher. He's a foreigner running a business in New York. And he's neutral, Bumpy replied. No gambling, no narcotics, no territory claims. Vincent's eyes narrowed slightly. Neutrality doesn't exist. It does if we decide it does. The words hung between them. Vincent exhaled slowly. You're protecting him because of a favor? I am protecting him because of principle. That doesn't generate revenue. It generates loyalty. Silence again. Other diners continued eating, unaware that a potential citywide conflict sat at table 7. Vincent folded his hands. You realize what you did last night? My men were prepared. And now they are alive, Bumpy replied. Vincent almost smiled. Almost. You're suggesting what? Neutral territory, Bumpy said directly. Bruce Lee's school remains untouched. No tribute. No harassment. In exchange, Chinatown stays out of Harlem disputes. No alliances. No leverage plays. Vincent considered. You don't control Chinatown. I don't need to, Bumpy answered. They respect strength. They saw it last night. Vincent tapped the table lightly. And what's my advantage? Stability, Bumpy said. You avoid a Harlem conflict. You avoid police heat from a public shooting. You avoid escalation with communities that don't fold easily. Vincent's gaze sharpened. And what do you gain? A man of integrity stays untouched, Bumpy replied. And Harlem's word means something. Vincent leaned forward. You're risking your reputation as a martial arts instructor. I am reinforcing it. A long pause followed. Vincent finally spoke. If I agree, it's understood this protection extends only to him. No expansion. No hidden partnerships. Agreed. And if he steps outside teaching? Then we revisit. Vincent weighed the calculus. Pride versus practicality. Demonstration versus discretion. You cost me face, Vincent said quietly. Yao will gain more by avoiding headlines, Bumpy answered. 3 dead Italians on Canal Street would have invited federal attention. That landed. Vincent nodded slowly. Better than a war, he said at last. Better than a war, Bumpy echoed. Vincent extended his hand across the table. Bumpy took it. Firm. Final. No paperwork. No witnesses who mattered. Just 2 men understanding the economics of restraint. They finished lunch discussing nothing of consequence. Weather. Shipping delays. Politics. Signals for anyone watching that this was routine. Outside, Mulberry Street continued as always. An agreement had been forged without a single shot fired. That evening, just after 7 p.m., Bumpy's Cadillac stopped once more on Canal Street. Inside the school, Bruce Lee dismissed his final class. When Bumpy entered, Bruce met his eyes. It's settled, Bumpy said simply. Bruce nodded once. Peace for now had been negotiated at a lunch table. Months passed. Spring 1971. Canal Street. Bruce Lee's school thrived. Morning sunlight streamed through the large windows, illuminating polished wooden floors. Students of all ages and backgrounds moved in precise, disciplined rhythm. A young black boy from Harlem, an Italian teenager from the Bronx, a Chinese immigrant, and a Jewish college student sparred side by side, correcting each other with respect and learning. Bruce observed, guiding, correcting, instructing not as an authority imposing rules, but as a teacher revealing potential. Every strike, every movement carried not only martial technique but philosophy, discipline, and the unspoken lesson of confidence. Overhead, Vincent Gigante, months later, entered quietly, standing at the back. The legendary capo watched silently as Bruce navigated the room, mediating a minor dispute between 2 students over proper footwork. Vincent's sharp eyes softened as he realized the broader impact. Bruce wasn't merely teaching kung fu. He was teaching understanding, collaboration, and self-respect concepts the streets often ignored. Meanwhile, Marcus, Bumpy Johnson's nephew, moved confidently around the room, helping younger students with adjustments. 3 months prior, he had been timid, unsure, and intimidated by gangs. Now, disciplined, capable, and self-assured, he embodied the change Bruce's guidance had instilled. Every student Bruce touched became a bridge, an extension of respect and responsibility. Later that afternoon in a quiet Chinatown tea house, Bruce, Bumpy, and Marcus gathered. The aroma of green tea and jasmine floated through the room. Marcus sipped carefully, looking between his two mentors. "What do you want people to remember about you?" Marcus asked Bruce. Bruce considered, eyes calm, voice deliberate. "I don't want them to remember me. I want them to remember the lessons. That power lies within themselves. That size and circumstance don't dictate the outcome. That patience and persistence wear down obstacles. That's what matters, the principles." "And you, Mr. Johnson?" Marcus asked. Bumpy chuckled softly, cane resting across his knees. "I want them to remember that I kept my word, protected those who couldn't protect themselves. That honor matters more than money, that I stood up when it counted." The three men shared a quiet moment. Despite coming from different worlds, the parallel values were unmistakable. Strength, honor, community, and courage. Bruce smiled slightly at Marcus. "You see, teaching isn't giving someone the answer. It's showing them they already have the strength to find it themselves." Bumpy nodded. "And sometimes protecting someone is about doing what's right, not what's convenient." The conversation drifted naturally to strategy, philosophy, and life. Bruce learned the codes that governed Harlem's underworld. Bumpy learned the subtleties of martial arts and the discipline behind Bruce's methods. Each exchange deepened mutual respect. Over the months, Bruce became an unofficial mediator in disputes bridging ethnic and territorial divides. Chinese gangs, Italian crews, and Harlem operators brought problems to him first. Trusting his fairness, neutrality, and insight, bloodshed was often prevented, tensions diffused, and alliances subtly strengthened. When Vincent visited months later, he watched silently from the back as a class blended cultures, races, and skill levels in a harmonious, disciplined flow. He saw more than martial arts. He saw order without violence, respect without fear, and the power of principle over territory. The lesson became clear. It wasn't about saving lives in the moment. It wasn't about territory, fear, or profit. It was about respect. Respect transcending race, background, and circumstance. It was about two men from entirely different worlds recognizing honor in one another and showing that the strongest alliances are built on principle, not intimidation. It was about the lasting legacy of integrity, influence, and human connection. Bruce Lee and Bumpy Johnson, a martial artist. The other a gangster, taught New York a truth often overlooked. That real power lies not in dominance or fear, but in honor, courage, and mutual respect. And that was a lesson no gun, no gang, and no territory could ever erase.